Thanks to those joining me live and to those that'll be joining me on Archive Dstyleboxing. I've been joined by my co-host Chief Funky, and we're also joined by Joe Habib from Ringside Reporter. And we also have the one and the only Christy Salters Martin, aka the coal miner's daughter, aka world champion, aka fighter, aka Hall of Famer, promoter. I'm running out of titles here, but shout out to you, Christy. Thanks for coming back here for now the third time on the show. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for using all the positive titles you can find for me. You know, because there's lots of people out there that would drop some negative ones, but so I appreciate the positive.
No, only positive ones. Only positive ones over here. You know. But,
that's right. That's right.
Well. First of all, tomorrow I believe Netflix will be playing the documentary. Correct?
Actually, the first documentary of the series came out today, and that's about the Pacers and the big fight they had with the fans. Next Tuesday night, or next Tuesday, the documentary for my life comes out Tuesday. Tomorrow is like, yeah, we're doing media day. Yep.
I got you. Okay. I don't know why I thought they would be playing them. So it makes sense every week. Okay, it's called Untold. It is on Netflix. So you guys make sure you subscribe to Netflix, and everyone has family members too that can help you out with the password and all that good stuff. So you can go ahead and check out the Christy Martin documentary next week. Again, that's the second one, Untold, and they have other ones, so make sure you check that out. Without giving it away, because we want people to watch it. But what did you make of the documentary? Were you satisfied with it? What did you make of it?
I think it was really fair to me, and I think that it took us back to the 90s and that great boxing era, and fighting under the Mike Tyson cards, fighting in the garden, all that really cool stuff. It is also the boxing part of it got me excited, and reliving the positives. Of course, we had the other side as well, and it's a little harder to watch. It's a little harder to listen to. Jim Martin's actually interviewed from prison. It was a little hard to see him and to hear him lie, but everything else was really positive, and I felt like it was really fair.
Okay. Now, do you know why they had to interview him? Is it kind of like they're trying to tell all sides of the story? Is that what that is?
I think they talked to me. They were like, how do you feel about us talking to him? And I thought, well, you know what? Let's give him a chance to tell the truth. I really thought after all this time that maybe he would say, yeah, I did it. But he really doesn't change his story too much. He hasn't changed any at all, really. He's still the same arrogant ass that he was, all those years ago. And it's amazing to me. It seems like prison would have changed him a little bit, but I didn't see any change in him. Still very, very arrogant.
Staying arrogant. Wow.
Yeah.
When the idea of this documentary first came about, did you have any reservations about having your personal life put out there? Was it a process that you had to, go through in your mind, whether or not you wanted to go through with this or not? Did you have any reservations?
Well, at first, it's Netflix, right? So I was all excited, like, wow, Netflix wants to do a documentary, and you're thinking about all the positives. I got to go and hang out with Deidre Gogarty for a little while in Vegas, hooked up with Jimmy Maloney, who sparred with me for so many years. So I got to spend some time with some people from that era that was so great for me. But then as it got closer to the documentaries, we're getting closer to air date, we're getting closer to the release, I started thinking, oh my God, what was I thinking? But I think it was fair. I think it's a good story. I think that hopefully it will make a difference in some people's lives, that they won't keep going down that rabbit hole as far as I did, and taking the abuse and the control, the whole game that these narcissists play. And they'll be able to recognize it and stand up for themselves and know that people are out there to help. That's probably the main thing about it. They will see Christy's Champs is just one of the many, many organizations that try to help women or men that are in these domestic violence situations.
Was it surreal to you watching your life being played right in front of your very eyes? Did it obviously brought back memories, but how did you feel about that? What type of effect did it have on you watching that?
it's one of those strange things. It's kind of like the cover of Sports Illustrated. Somebody asked me once, "Don't you get tired of seeing it?" Of course, I don't get tired of seeing it. That's awesome to think that I was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. So it's a little bit the same. Like, wow, they really took the time to do this documentary, and hopefully people will watch it and people will take some positive away from it. So it was kind of strange. And plus, I hate to sit and listen to myself talk. So just to listen to myself for about 80 minutes, I think it is. And I do a lot of talking during the thing. So, and I do a lot of talking. They flash back to the trash talking for the Deshaun fight and the fight with Lucia Riker. There's a lot of really cool footage in there that I don't know. I didn't know how they got actually.
You're like, hey, that's me. But
Yeah.
is there anything there that you would say a lot of us haven't heard of yet? Like anything new about you in that documentary? Like for someone. Okay.
There's going to be some oh shit moments. There'll be like, and that's more on the personal side, but yeah, I think there'll be some oh wow, Christy moments. Yeah. And okay. I hope that through some of that, people will see just the kind of control that Jim had over me.
We'll be able to see that for sure.
101.
So Christy, I heard you mention you had a chance to talk to some of the fighters that you had fights with back in the days. I heard you bring up the name Gogarty. That was a great fight. How was that meeting up with her after all these years, after you guys had such a spectacular fight back in the 90s?
It was cool because, so much time has passed and she's married now, has a child, and just the whole time to sit together and catch up and relive. Wow, we did this. Our fight that night changed the way women's boxing is perceived today. Even though I know there's some people out there now that want to claim the GOAT and they're the reason that people are watching women's boxing. No, people are watching women's boxing because of Martin Gogarty under Mike Tyson. Everybody had tuned in that night to see Mike Tyson, and we got a chance to display our skills. That's why women's boxing got a really big push. But there were women way before Christy Martin ever tried to put up on the gloves, tried to box and get recognition. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. And Don King was, to me, is the greatest promoter of all times. He just didn't transition to the social media side of promotion.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Now you mentioned being on Mike Tyson undercards. You were on cards with Felix Trinidad, Chavez. A lot of these female fighters, they are so concerned about, getting themselves out there, becoming popular, but they want a headline right away. I notice, and you mentioned, the term GWOAT, and they seem like they're putting the cart before the horse. You built yourself up. You were on the undercards. How important is that? And do you think female fighters should do that as well to try to build themselves up, be on some big fight undercards, and sometimes get that opportunity to get that exposure?
And isn't that what it's really all about? Boxing, I love the sport, but it's a business as well. So the main thing, number one, you want to do is be seen by the most people possible. And the way to be seen and to show your skills to that number of people all over the world is to be on the undercard of, during my time, Tyson, Trinidad, as you said, Chavez, all those guys. And Mike Tyson's in the documentary, which is really cool. That was really awesome. But these women today, they want to, as you said, they want to headline their own shows, but who's going to watch? Isn't it better to be on this big card that so many people are tuned in to see than to headline a show and nobody watches it?
Yeah, I would think so. I would think so, because you were on some big time cards back in the day.
Man, I was on all those big cards. Tyson, like 4 or 5 Tyson cards. Tyson Holyfield 1 and 2. I was on both those with Trinidad and Chavez. That was the last great era of boxing.
Terry Norris, Julian Jackson.
Terry Norris. Oh man.
Man, those some names right there.
I want to ask you something about this. So you were on these big undercards. I'm just curious, what would Christy Martin do after one of your fights? Would you just go back and celebrate in the locker room? Did you sit down in the locker room and watch the fight? Did you go to the hotel to watch the fights? Like what were you doing in the main event of that evening when Mike Tyson was fighting?
I would usually go back, get a shower, get back out into the arena and watch Tyson fight. You know, you want to be in there. I mean, everybody wanted to see the fight. So I wanted to be in the arena and feel the energy. It was awesome. I mean, all those fights were just unbelievable. I remember the first big fight I fought on was Chavez Frankie Randall 1, actually. And I thought I was in Mexico. I mean, Chavez, there was so much support for Chavez. I couldn't believe it. It was, oh man, it was awesome. And because of my style, you know, it was pretty fan friendly, kind of, you know, want to see me go forward, no big punches, get hit, bleed. I felt like I had a lot of Mexican fans just because of that.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
that's definitely right up our alley, Christy. I can tell you that.
Yep. Right now, I'm promoting a young Mexican fighter from Florida, Benny Aguilar. He's taking on a kid from Venezuela on my show April 28th in Myrtle Beach, and that's fireworks are gonna. I mean, these guys are like 5-0, so they're at that point in the career. Somebody's gonna move forward, and somebody's gonna take a little step back and have to, you know, recoup and go again. But that's gonna be a great fight. But that's just, you know, you're putting two young lions in there together.
So I do want to talk about that Mayhem in Myrtle Beach card, August 28th. I'm seeing it general admission $45, ringside $65. Are there still seats available?
Ringside's sold out. Ringside's been sold out, and we're doing well with the general admission. There's tickets available, but they're going quickly. The card is low. I mean, like I said, Alonzo Butler's on the show. He's getting ready to. He's, you know, getting himself in line to fight for WBA heavyweight title. Victorino Gonzalez, who is my fighter, Christy Promotions, you know, signed under our team. Puerto Rican kid that's from Myrtle Beach, sells. I mean, he packs the place. He packs the place, and he brings a lot of energy.
Back that place. Okay. So who are some fighters that we should be looking out for on that card? I mean, there's Antonio Sevilla. I see Kyle Harrell. Like who should we be looking at here, like as a future world champion?
Yeah, those guys. Anthony Sevilla. He's from West Virginia, so he's my hometown. You know, my home state, and I'm excited about him. He's, you know, we're trying to mold his persona for boxing, but his style in the ring is just go knock you out. You know, we're so much alike. We'd rather just stand there and fight than be pretty about it. You know, you hit me 2 or 3 times, I'm gonna hit you 1, but I know my 1's gonna take care of business. And that's the same style that he brings. So the fans love it. He comes out to Country Roads, you know, West Virginia. Everybody in West Virginia loves that song. And we're down in Myrtle Beach, lots of West Virginians. So he's a big hit. And then, as I said, Victorino Gonzalez, he's exciting. 126, 130 pounder. He's still working, still improving, but coming off a tough loss, a tough setback in Orlando, but he's ready to get back on the horse and go against a 4-0 kid, Carlos Nunez. So, yeah, I mean, it's all undefeated young talent coming up. It's really battle to who's going to move forward.
Right, so I see a fight here, Victorino Gonzalez versus Carlos, all in Venegas. What type of fight should people expect with that one right there? Yeah,
that's going to be it's going to be straightforward. Nunez is going to come forward. He's going to try to. He's already said he's going to knock Victorino out. Victorino's my fighter, so you know, I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think Victorino will give him a little bit of a boxing lesson and then take it home. You know, he could stop him late. Well, it's only a 6-round fight, but he could stop him in like 5th or 6th.
Now, being a former fighter yourself, I'm sure you understand styles and matchups. How involved are you in putting these matches together? I'm sure you have a matchmaker, but I would assume you would have a say in these matchups as well.
I'm not the Don King's level or those guys, Oscar and all of them. So I am involved with the matchmaking, and these guys are my fighters. You know, Anthony Sevilla, Victorino, Benny Aguilar, they're my guys. So, you know, as I step them up, I get a little nervous, but you know, that's what we have to do. And the good thing about these guys, I have to hold them back. I don't have to push them, push them to take a tougher fight. I have to tell them, no, you've had less than 5 fights. You're not ready to take on that, 10-0 undefeated guy yet. Let's get a couple more. A 10, you got to pay your dues. You got to improve each and every night out. But yeah, I'm involved. I'm definitely involved. I am working with Brian Shannon. He makes most of the matches for me, but we work very closely.
So you can definitely understand the building up process of a fighter, and that obviously you can relate to that at being a fighter yourself.
I think there are a lot of theories. There's too many guys, in my opinion, right now that want to just fight dead people. Their first 10 or 12 fights, they want 0-5s and 1-10. No, I mean, what do you learn? And then when in fight number 11 or 12, you fight a real fighter, you're in no way prepared for that. So I want my guys to fight. They have to fight against quality competition. We don't fight those one-hitter quitters, as I call them.
Now you said you have to hold them back. I mean, and I think a lot of boxing fans, especially like on social media, they use the word duck a lot. They use the word scared a lot. Do you run into fighters that are scared and they want to duck fights much? Or do you find yourself having to explain to them why maybe another route is better? Like, you know what I mean?
Like a day job. Yes. Because look, if you want to go to the gym every day and work out and put your body and your mind through the training and the preparation that it takes to get ready for a fight, and then you don't want to fight, at least, same level competition, get a job. I mean, get a day job. Boxing's not for you. That's just the way that's the way I was raised in it. That's the way I believe is the right way. And that's the way that my guys will come up.
Well, there we go.
Yeah, I like that. Christy, we talked a little bit about how the women's boxing today is kind of failing to attract more fans to their side of the sport. Now, you're obviously retired now, but if you were, let's just say back when you were active, if that was the case for women's at the time, and a lot of the fighters today, they're going over to MMA to make more money. Would you possibly consider doing that in your career, or would you stick to boxing?
Never. I mean, I just don't get it. I don't have any understanding of the ground game, so I can't really appreciate. I know that what they do is really, they're good at it. They're great at it, but I have no desire, and I have no desire to get kicked in the head. None, zero.
But
so no, I would never even consider it. But
just to add to that, though, my only thing is this, right? Just recently, I forgot the name of the girl, but there's this UFC fighter. She wanted to fight in the UFC, and she's talking about how she won a fight bonus and that she was broke, and without that fight bonus, she would have broke even, and she would have been broke anyway. So this idea that these boxers need to go to MMA when MMA fighters keep wanting to come to boxing, I just don't know where this is coming from, because there isn't more money in MMA from what I see anyway.
I don't know for sure, but I from what I've been told is for the women, there's more money over in the UFC and the MMA stuff. For the men, boxing, of course, is always going to be the bigger payday. Again, I just can't ever see me trying to get hit in the head. Even when I was 20 years old, I'm like, no, I don't think that's for me. But hey, more power to them. It's just funny because Dana White back in the 90s was so much against women's boxing, and Don King, and he put so much crap on us for doing what we were doing, and King giving me the opportunity, and then along comes Ronda Rousey, and Dana White saw that he could make money with her, and now his whole promotional package of UFC has changed. In my opinion, he relies more heavily on the females than on the guys even.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, by the way, that girl had to do a GoFundMe.
Wow.
Wow. So yeah, I'm not sure if that's the answer or whatever, because I keep hearing, certain fighters, that's how we refer to her, they call themselves the quote, saying, well, you better pay me or I'm going to go to MMA where the money's at. I don't know. Right. But with that said, how is being you've done several cards now. Are you finding being a promoter more frustrating than you thought it would? Is it worth it for you? Especially with this COVID thing. COVID must be very frustrating for you as a promoter right now. How is being a promoter right now?
Being a promoter to me is so much harder than being the fighter. The fighters always bitch, moan, and complain that promoters are making all the money, but yeah, everybody has to work hand in hand. It takes the fighters to make the promoter. It takes the promoter to make the fighters. but dag is hard. It's hard. And with the COVID, I mean, we were basically shut down for a year, and we had just put Evan Holyfield on a show in Daytona Beach, and like the momentum, for the promotion, my team was all going forward and I felt so positive about it. And then COVID hit and everything was canceled. So then we had a few shows where Gardner Payne was actually the lead promoter. We just ran the show for him, and restricted audience. It was tough. It was tough. Now we've been back in Myrtle Beach and in Florida where we could have unlimited audience, but we're having the rise in COVID. So it's like any minute you don't know when it's going to change.
The boxing fans complain that there's like so many titles now in boxing, but it actually helps the promoter to have all these titles because they can say, I'm promoting a title fight. What is your perspective on that? Because you're a promoter now. When you look at all these titles, obviously it's a lot different than when you were boxing. What is your take on all these titles? And do you like it or not like it?
I personally don't like it because I think, but this is me being a little bit I don't know, too restrictive. Old school,
Yeah, old school.
I'm like, there's the BC number one. You want to put that green belt on your waist. There's the BA. Mendoza, I love them. They're good. The IBF, I know a little bit less about, and the BO, and what else? I mean, why else? Why do you want to fight for, Junkyard Dog world title?
Regular
Who
belt.
cares?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Regular
and that's
belt,
too much. We have the regular champion
silver
with
titles.
There's too many titles. There's too many weight classes. But I am old school, and I would love to see these titles go away. Have a title that means
I think
or don't have one. Then it makes you work harder. These guys get titles, and they have titles for 6-round fights. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's not a title fight. That's a prelim. That's not even a real. That's a prelim.
Yeah, the fighter the other night
got too many.
Fighter the other night had 3 fights. He was fighting for the WBA regular title.
Come on.
That's just yeah. That's crazy. But,
Yeah.
I want to ask you this. You as a former fighter, because we talked to you in the past, and you sound grateful for everything Don King did for you as far as the opportunities, right, to be on these big undercards and making the money you made in boxing. Now it seems to me like the fighters are in these positions where they're getting great money, and to me it's like, hey, good for you. But it seems like the fights are harder to make, even though they're making more money. And so when me as just a regular person, I hear, okay, Cada Plant is going to make 10 million. And then Canelo's going to make 40 million, right? And for me, like I just say to myself, "Oh, you figure it out, guys, and then fight." That's what I have to say.
Right.
But these fights don't happen. Like, how do you see these things? I mean, there's multiple examples of it, but it seems the fights are just more difficult to make, even though there's more money apparently for them to make.
Well, definitely, there's more money now than back in the 90s. But yeah, I can't imagine like when you're making 10 million plus. It's almost like how do you let $1 million stand in the way, and then argue over the size of the ring. Who cares? I mean, you're both in the same size. The gloves, this and that. That's Mickey Mouse stuff. That means you don't really want to fight. So yeah, it's strange. I mean, I can't imagine fighting over, when you're fighting for $2 million. Like I said, it's all relative. What's $1 million? That's like you're fighting for $1,000 and you want to fight over, you do or do not want to fight over $100. It's 10%. It doesn't matter.
Right. So,
yeah.
And that $100 probably means more to that fighter than that $1 million really means to that fighter.
Right. Exactly.
Honestly, I mean, in the big picture. Yeah.
Exactly.
But, yeah, unfortunately, Arum and King got a lot of crap for back in the day that their fighters didn't fight each other. But now we still fighters under the same promotion. They're not fighting each other. So it's
right.
hard. It's hard, and again, with so many weight classes, like it's not, they don't have to fight each other and so many belts.
Yep. That's the tough thing about
Before everybody wanted to be the champion. So they had to, fight the champion. It's different.
Do you think, because I remember Michael Jordan, was quoted saying that when he was playing basketball, he first had to prove who he was before he got the big deals like that to get the Jordan brand and all that. And he said the same with everybody else. But now, like, they give basketball players these big commercial deals even before they play one game, right? Do you think that something similar is happening in boxing where guys are getting these big paydays before they prove themselves? And then when it does come to proving themselves, they want even more money, and it's something that they can do. You know, it creates a scenario where they are pricing themselves more.
Right. And social media has created so many superstars that shouldn't be superstars. You know, they're superstars for what they do on the outside of the ring and the hype that they can create while they're training, not really while they're fighting. So it's it's just a different time, unfortunately. I think, I know social media is great for you guys, but in some way I think it has hurt not just our sport but lots of sports. And basketball is definitely probably one of them, because like you said, guys walk out of the college gym and into a huge multi-million-dollar deal. They never do have to prove themselves. Like Michael Jordan said, he had to prove himself. And he did, because so many people hated him. If you remember back in the day, everybody didn't love Michael Jordan.
Yeah, they called him selfish, and he was just a scorer and he would never win. But hey, he proved them wrong. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, Joe B didn't like him here, but he's a Celtics fan. That's why he didn't like him. But that's a different story.
Yeah, but I love Jerry Bird, so
I respected him, but I just thought he was kind of a mean dude to his teammates. That's all.
Well, you have to do what
I didn't like that he punched Steve Kerr in the face. I didn't think that was called for.
That's a bit much for basketball, though.
He just was. I think he wanted to win so badly, and everybody wasn't at his level, and so he would get frustrated easily.
He's pushing those guys, B. He's pushing them, right?
How were you in sparring? Were you like, did you want them to come at you hard? Was it just like, hey, take it easy? How was Christy Martin in training camp?
No, we sparred hard. I mean, I came up old school, and I sparred most of the time with guys, and my ribs broke up, my nose broke up, my eardrum popped once, ruptured, whatever, and lots of injuries. So I wanted to spar hard.
Looking back, would you change any of that, or would you just keep it the way it is, or the way it was? Like, would you maybe take it a little less, hard, so you don't break those ribs? And
no, I loved it. I mean, I sparred so many rounds with Jimmy Maloney. He was a pro, and he fought Fernando Vargas. He fought like 7 world champions, Randall Bailey. He lost to those guys, but he was in the ring with them, and we sparred hundreds of rounds, and we just went to war all the time. And he had enough experience that he could push me as hard as I could take it, and still hold up, just hold up a little bit, and not break my ribs every time he hit me. Just every now and then.
A lot of times too, we hear about these. Oh, here's some background. Sorry. Yeah, we hear about these stories about fighters talking about sparring sessions, and they put it out to the public. And for me, I just think that shouldn't be done. That's because sparring is practice. You're there to try to help each other out. It never really happened during the day. You would never hear headlines. You never have like leaked sparring footage on YouTube. What are your thoughts on that when you see all that stuff? Because I don't like it myself, and I just think that sparring should be left in the gym.
Well, and not just sparring, but I tell my guys, I'm like, don't put any footage of yourself on the social media stuff. Like, you're working out, you're hitting the mitts, you're whatever you're doing. Why? That's like inviting your opponent into the gym to watch you work out or to train with you. You wouldn't do that. So why are you putting it on social media? I know you want your friends to know you're in the gym, but that is just not your friends watching. It's everybody. So I'm not a fan of it. And whatever happens in the gym, sparring, it should stay in the gym between the teams that are in there.
Yeah, because I feel like, we see it a lot today where, trainers or fighters will say, I beat this guy up in sparring, I stopped him or whatever, made him quit. I mean, to me, that does more harm than good, because now it's like, you know, why would anybody else want to go down there and spar with you? And especially a lot of times we found out that these guys are kind of over exaggerating what happened. So like, it's going to be hard for you now to get sparring partners to work, you know, to get good work and training.
Right. And yeah, if you're getting ready to fight this guy, let's say, because sometimes that happens, someone you sparred with earlier in your career, you now are fighting later, and you want to say, oh, I kicked their ass, or I beat them up, but they couldn't stay in the gym with me. Well, how much excitement is that going to generate for the fight you're trying to sell?
Right. I have a question here from this is from Jamie7 from the UK. And his question is, in your role as a promoter, given that the Olympics just finished, is there any boxer from Tokyo that you saw that you would like to promote? Any of the amateur
actually,
fighters?
I had one of the guys. I had one of the guys from Haiti on one of my shows in Orlando, Daryl Valsaint, and he's a really, really strong, seasoned fighter for somebody that's only had, he's had 2 pro fights, but a ton of amateur fights, a ton of amateur experience. He can fight. I would like to be able to move forward with promoting him, but these big guys with all those deep pockets, they swoop in there and grab up all those Olympic guys.
Well, just
but
quick question from the chat.
We had the females brought some medals home too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that this was definitely a pretty solid year, especially since, the Americans they're more like, made for the pros and than the current amateur system. But we'll see where they go from here. The Don is asking, do you still have contact with Don King?
I did Don King's show for him January 29th in South Florida. It was Trevor Bryan fought Romaine Stevens. And I went down and ran the fight for him, hit a couple of my guys on the undercard. And it was fun. It was interesting and exciting to be in that role with him. And now we're working together. Alonzo Butler is his fighter. He's put him on my show in Myrtle Beach. And then also we're working together with Johnny Langston, who's a cruiserweight that's knocking on the world title door as well.
Awesome. Now, Lennox was best is asking, what do you think wins between Clarissa Shields and Savannah Marshall, and Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano? Are you familiar with Savannah Marshall?
I don't know Savannah Marshall,
Okay.
but I love Amanda Serrano. I mean, and Katie Taylor's good too, but Amanda Serrano is really, I like her. I like watching her fight, and I think she's got like the heart. She's old school. She's young, but younger, but she's old school. Yeah. She's old school. But she's from up in New York. She's been in Gleason's gym training, and
okay,
she's been around the old school guys.
Well, do you think she stands a good shot against Katie Taylor? You think she could beat her?
I think so. I think it's a great fight. It's a great fight for women's boxing. It's a great fight for women's boxing. And then that's the whole thing. And with Katie Taylor, at least Eddie Hearn's putting her on big undercards that people are seeing her fight instead of, she's not trying to headline shows. She may have headlined a show, but like that's not her goal. I don't think she cares as long as people are seeing her.
Absolutely. Who do you think is the best pound for pound fighter in the sport today, Christy?
Well, I'll tell you my 2 favorite guys, and I don't know where they really rank best pound for pound and all that stuff, but Teofimo Lopez and Tank, they're my 2 favorites, and basically both of them for the same reason. They both talk the talk and walk the walk, and Teofimo especially. I mean, I really like watching him fight. He's exciting. He goes out there and gets the job done. Tank, man, he's got that. I was ringside when he knocked out. Help me. The kid.
Santa Cruz?
Yes, Santa Cruz. Oh my goodness.
Okay.
I mean, and Santa Cruz was doing, in my opinion, I thought he maybe was winning. Of course, he wasn't on the scorecards, but he was a great boxing exhibition that night.
Yeah, he was
and then
his own.
boom,
He
There
was in
came
the
one
fight
punch,
for sure.
but hey, was it?
He was holding his own.
I want to ask you this:
Yeah.
like, how many years too late do you think you caught Holly Holm? If, for example, if you caught her 5 years earlier, do you think you would have beat her? Like what? Like, you know, like how many years
You know
before
what?
do you think you would have beaten her?
I'll be very honest with you. And unlike most fighters and like most people that you're going to talk to, I don't know if I would
Right.
ever have beaten her because
Okay.
she's a tall, long southpaw, and she didn't want to fight. You know, she moved and moved, and I chased and chased, and that style. We go to styles. You know, I don't know that I was ever going to beat that style. So maybe never. Didn't matter.
Okay. Yeah, that's an honest answer. I like
And
it.
you don't get honesty from many fighters, but
Right.
too old.
Most people say, yeah. Yeah. There you go. There you go. After this Myrtle Beach card, do you have another card set up after that?
We were scheduled to go in Orlando September 18th, but Canelo was supposed to fight on that day. So I pulled the plug on my show for September, and now he's gone to November. But I'm just going to come back November 20 in Myrtle Beach. And then
we heard a lot about we heard about a lot of fights not being made yet because they were waiting on Canelo to say, "Okay, I'm fighting on this date." So that's interesting. So that is something that even at your level, like as a promoter, you're looking at to see when this big name's going to fight in order to set up a card.
Oh, especially at my level, because I'm just sort of local card. There's no way that I can go against Canelo on pay-per-view. And we would have to have a huge ticket seller locally that probably isn't Hispanic to really even consider going against Canelo.
Right, exactly.
I don't know where that fight would be.
Well, there you go. Well, I mean, come on, Canelo, set up a date already. But people need to eat. Like let's go.
That's the bad thing. Now he's talking about November, so hopefully he doesn't decide it's November 20. He goes early in November.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about, I mean, and maybe you have the answer to this, why not do an afternoon card on the day that Canelo's fighting?
I actually talked to some people about doing that, and they kind of thought it was I thought it maybe was an okay idea. But they thought, no, it's too much boxing. If people are either going to come, they're just getting ready for Canelo that night. They're not going to come and watch a local club show and then go watch, Canelo's card. So, and then even with the commission, they're like, nah, Christy's really not a good idea. So,
right, you guys make sure next week you check out Netflix's Untold. They have a series. Next week will be Christy Martin. Make sure you go ahead and check that out. Anything else, Christy, you want to say to the fans out there watching?
Yeah, just thanks for all the support throughout everything, throughout my career, but more so really from the time that I was shot and stabbed and all that stuff happened, the support that I've gotten since then. And the support that Christy's Champs, my nonprofit for domestic violence awareness, gets from the boxing world is great. So just thank you, thank you. And please keep me in mind always.
Absolutely. The one and the only. Definitely. Well, we appreciate you coming on here. The legend, the one more question. How does it feel to officially be a Hall of Famer? Like you're official now, right?
That's pretty awesome. Well, it actually was 2020, so it's going to be 2022 by the time we get to actually have an induction ceremony, and by then it's going to be 3 classes at once. So a little bit of the luster maybe will be taken away, but from now until the end of time, I can tell everybody that I'm a Hall of Famer. Actually, a few times over in the Nevada Hall of Fame as well. So California, the National Boxing Hall of Fame, which is in California. So cool. It makes me proud because people did take notice of the hard work I did during my career.
Well, there you go. All right, Chrissy, you have a good one.
Cool. Thank you guys. Good night.
See you, champ.
Bye bye.
Here we go, guys. The one and the only Christy Martin.